Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I'm your host, Coach Shay Marville. In this space, we dive into transformative conversations that hopefully inspire you to grow, heal, and have a deeper connection to yourself and to the world around you. So let's talk, let's connect, let's grow together. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk. On today's episode, I have a very sharp shooter. Today, we are not pulling any punches. We are diving straight into something that quietly breaks our heart, breaks families, shuts businesses, and keeps people awake at night, and it prevents them from pursuing their dreams. What am I talking about? Hormones? No, not hormones. I'm talking about money stress. And today we have Michael Yasny. He is known as the financial fixer. He's going to talk to us about the things that he's seen over the last 3 decades and how we should navigate this new world that we are living in. It's no time to be unrealistic. It's no time to pretend you are something that you are not. But it's also an opportune time to really focus on your dreams. Would you say that's true, Michael?
Absolutely. Everybody should be focusing on their dreams no matter what they are.
Welcome to Let's Talk. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Now, gosh, we started this interview before we actually started recording. And it's not really an interview. It's really a conversation. It's so hard to talk about money, right? Like, people are so ashamed, afraid, worried about what other people are going to think about them when they are going through a transition or when they're having a financial crisis. And a few weeks ago, well, I guess it wasn't, maybe it's almost 2 months ago, we were at a dinner and you talked about needing to make a change and not being ashamed to do that, not being ashamed to ask for help. And you told a story about the difference between men and women entrepreneurs. That men will keep going even after they hear no when it comes to financing. And women, if they are turned down for financing, they stop.
That's been my experience in the majority of people. When it comes to business and financing, a guy will generally not pay that much attention to you. They know what to do. They know how to be successful. Generally they don't, but that's what they believe in themselves. But when it comes to financing, and financing is hard to get for a new business.
Yes.
They will sell their soul to get that financing. And women entrepreneurs, the majority of them that I've run into, very happy to ask for help, take notes, ask questions, work hard, do everything they're supposed to do. But when they go for financing and they get turned down, many of them stop looking for financing and keep their business small. Yet all the financing that's available to guys is available to women. And you shouldn't quit just because somebody said no, because maybe you were just looking for the wrong financing. Because most of the financing people think about is with the bank. And most companies do not qualify to get financing at the bank. And they shouldn't get financing from the bank.
Right. Why?
The bank is there to give you money against assets.
Right.
They don't care about your business. They don't care who you're selling your services to. They care about how are they going to get their money back if you don't pay them. So at the beginning, they're looking for hard security. They're not looking, oh, you have an order from Home Depot for $1 million and you're going to make $600,000. They don't care. And this is the reason they don't care.
Why?
They don't know if you're going to deliver. They know Home Depot is going to pay.
Yes, yes.
But they don't know if you're going to deliver to them in order to get paid. And that was the first lesson I learned in business. When I was in my early 20s, I needed a line of credit at the bank. My father sent me to his bank manager, and it turns out to be a setup, but it was a great learning experience. And I went in there, I had a big order from a department store, and I was going to do retail, and I needed $25,000. And he congratulated me on everything, and then he finally said, okay, what do you need? And I said, I need $25,000. And he said, okay, what security do you have? I said, well, I have the order. and I'm going to do the retail, and I'll be able to pay it back. He says, how do we know? Well, they're going to pay. He said, well, we know they're going to pay. We don't know if you're going to deliver. And for me, I understood that. It made sense. Now, it was a setup, like I said, my father signed the line of credit.
Yes, yes.
But it was a great learning experience that I've expressed to many people, hundreds, maybe thousands of people over the years, that your business, your idea, your hard work, the bank doesn't care. So there are other financings available if you don't have the security for the bank.
How do you know? Like, how would you find out about other financing? Because what we're told is, or, conditioned to think about is the bank is going to be your partner, right? So if the bank isn't your partner or they're not going to finance you, you think, okay, well, I've got to get this money from somewhere. I'm going to try with my family. No, I don't want to do that.
Well, there are lots of places. Friends and family are one,
yes.
But there are conditions to that. Are they going to be your partner? Are they going to charge you interest when you have to pay it back? But that's an opportunity. If you're in the manufacturing business and you need equipment, well, there are different financings for that. You can get leasing. You can get a Canadian small business loan. That actually does go through the bank, but you're only guaranteeing a small portion of that. So you qualify for $125,000 on the max of a $500,000, but you only have to qualify for $125,000. You don't have to qualify for $500,000. So there are different things because the federal government guarantees the rest.
I think most people would not even know that.
They don't, and they're not going to get the loan most of the time because the bank doesn't want to make it. So you're best to go to somebody that deals with a bank,
yes.
one bank manager at one branch who does these SBL loans. And you just pay them the fee, and they're worth the fee because they may charge for a business plan up front, but they
yes.
don't charge anything else unless they get you the loan. And they're not going to put in the application unless they think it's 90-95% you're going to get the loan.
Right.
So they're well worth the money because you don't have to come up with the other $375 of security. You only had to come up with $125,000 worth of security. But if you don't need $500,000, maybe you only need $200,000. So you're only coming up with security of $50,000. You don't have to give it. But if you had a house with equity, that's the assets. So that will qualify. You have to have a decent credit score.
How did you, you just mentioned the example of your dad, signing the loan for you, and maybe you had that. Did you expect him to do that or you didn't expect?
No, I thought the bank was going to give me the money.
Right. Now, how did that first business do?
I ran it for 8 years. I got it to a certain point, and then my father didn't think that I should be running a business that only went 5-6 months of the year because it was for accessory business. You don't sell it in July. But it was amazing. I did it retail. I did a wholesale. I did a mail order. I did it in New York. I sold department stores. It was amazing. But you get a little older, you have to make more money. You have
yes.
to work 12 months of the year. And I walked into, by accident, his friend sold a house to somebody that was in a new business called factoring, buying receivables. And my father says, what's better than selling money?
Did your dad have his own business?
He was an orthodontist. So
he was an orthodontist.
So he was he ran his own business, but, it's part of being a professional.
So you grew up, though, with a parent who ran their own business, and you saw the stress of doing that, and you saw what he experienced.
Right. You saw that, and then his friends had businesses. You learned, I worked for a couple of his friends that had businesses when I was real young. So you learn about it because I got lucky. These people would talk to me. I didn't just have a job in the back.
Yeah.
I learned about their business.
Yeah.
The best example of learning is I worked for a friend's father in the summertime when I was 20 for 3 months. I was paid $4 an hour. It was the best job and learning experience I could have ever had in my life. He took me with him on day one. We're driving he did mail order business through American Express. I'm in his car, and he says, so you want to be in business? And I said, yes. He said, first lesson, don't have a partner. I said, but you have a partner. He says, well, don't have a partner that does the same thing as you. And 1 month later, he bought out the partner. But he brought me into every meeting. He let me do everything. I learned about pricing and duties and clearing things at customs because he wouldn't pay a customs broker. So he sent me to the airport because in Canada, you can clear it yourself. So I learned a lot about markups, mail order.
Yes.
And when you buy something a mail order and you're spending $30, it probably costs $5, $6, $7.
Yeah.
It's usually a 300-400% markup. So I learned that, and because eventually I did mail order with my furs. But you learn from everything. You can learn from going to the grocery store, working for them, and stocking the shelves. You can learn about business. One thing that I can tell you, you know how you go and you can go to the store and the Windex is $5, but you go to a job place and it's $1?
Yes.
It's the same $5 Windex. All that's happened is most likely is a bottle in the box of 24 leaked, and they send the whole shipment back. And now it becomes a job lot.
So tell me this. I mean, these experiences you're talking about, they happened to you when you were a young person, early in your career, yeah?
Every day. New experiences every day.
But, okay, how do you now take that mindset and apply it to 2025?
Well, everybody comes to me with different problems.
Yeah.
And I have, instead of just being in the factoring business, buying receivables and selling that, I've learned about everything. Leasing, the SBL loans, BDC, private mortgages, anything to do with financing or getting people out of trouble who get into trouble with financing.
Yeah.
So that's another problem. So it's just about experience, and now I listen because everybody's situation has a different solution. So being able to grasp from past experiences can help me better explain how a client can get out of a problem, or how they fix it, or how they move forward, or how they grow their business. Or, I use an example. I wrote a mortgage course. So I'm an accredited mortgage course, and so agents took it and got credits for it. And I called it, "You're not in the mortgage business, you're in the money business." And then I explained why you're in the money business. When somebody calls you up asking about a mortgage, don't ask them how much their house is worth. Ask them, what do you need the money for? Okay? Because a mortgage may or may not be the solution. And most likely it is the solution because you went to a mortgage broker. But it's not always the solution.
Yeah.
And the example I used was a new business, been about 6 months in business, and they got a contract from McDonald's for $3 million.
Nice.
And they needed a piece of equipment, $150,000, regular piece of equipment, nothing special about it, just they needed it for the job. And they went to they found it, and the manufacturer said, okay, it's $150,000. And they said, well, do you lease? And they said, no, we don't, but we are associated with a company that does leasing that we send people to. So they sent the person to the leasing company. The leasing company looked at the deal and the company and everything. Said, well, we like your contract, but we're not prepared to give you a $150,000 lease. Because most leases are for 100%.
Yeah.
So he decided to go to his mortgage broker and said, I need a second mortgage on my house to buy this piece of equipment. So the mortgage broker does their work, comes back and says, I can only give you $50,000. So now nobody wins. Mortgage broker doesn't do a mortgage, the leasing company doesn't do a lease, the manufacturer doesn't sell, and the client loses a $3 million contract. And I say, hold on.
That's where you come in.
That's where I come in.
That's why you're the fixer.
Right. Think outside the box. Let's go back to the leasing company because we have $50,000. Let's go to the leasing company and offer them a $50,000 down payment. Now they're only in for 65% on a $150,000 piece of equipment that's easy to resell if something goes wrong.
Right.
It's not a specialized piece of equipment. Now what happens is the mortgage broker made a commission. The leasing company did a job. Mortgage broker might have made a commission on that lease.
Yes.
The leasing company did the lease, the manufacturer sold, and the client got their job and was able to deliver the $3 million in sales to McDonald's, all because somebody's thought outside the box. Don't quit. There's different ways to solve a problem. There's not just one.
But it's also, you have to be able to have an appetite for risk. Like when you say, someone might hear second mortgage, I don't want to take that chance.
Well, it's usually the spouse that doesn't want to take the chance. That's the biggest hurdle. Once you get over that hurdle, everything's easy. But there's you have to look at what you have and what are you going to do with that money. It's not how much you pay for the money. It's how much money you're going to make from the money.
Yes.
So that's what's important. You have to look at everything and determine if it's worthwhile. And are you charging enough for your services? Are you charging enough for your product? And many people, especially new in business where they're looking for sales, discount their service or their product in order to get sales. And that's wrong.
Talk to me about that, because that piece right there, like the underpricing of your product or service just to get the business, that's a dead end.
Right. So all it is a slow way to bankruptcy. So I tell people, it is none of your business how much somebody's going to pay for your product or service. It is only your business how much you need to charge in order to stay in business. And if nobody will pay it, find a new business. So you can't sell for something if you're not going to make money.
That's right.
You have to make money. And that's what you went into business for.
Yes.
So try it. Now, sometimes it's a perceived value. So you might be charging the right price and nobody's buying it. You might raise the price and more people will buy it because they're thinking getting value. And that happened to me, and again, experiences. So I was in it for a business. I made a headband out of 2 foxtails and sold it for $29.95. It cost me $11. The mink and the fox earmuffs cost me $13. I sold for $35. People didn't think the fox headbands were real because it was too cheap. So the next year I raised the price to $39.95 and sold more. Then I raised it to $49.95 the following year and sold even more because people felt better giving me $50 than $30 because they thought they were getting more value because it was furs. It was the perceived value. And sometimes that happens. Like right today, you can find fox and mink earmuffs that I promise you do not cost really any more money than I made them many, many years ago, decades ago. And they're selling for $350. The most I ever sold was, I think, $50. Fur costs the same. It doesn't cost 5 times, 10 times as much. Perceived value.
Do you see that kind of opportunity now, though? Everything has changed. I know that everyone's tired of hearing this over and over again, that everything's changed in the last 5 years. But our desire to build businesses, to make money for our families, to care for ourselves has not changed.
It's never going to change.
It's never going to change. If you're somebody, let's say you've been laid off, or you've been fired or terminated, and you're at a period in your life where you thought, okay, I'm going to be in this position for a while. Maybe I'll retire, I'll do something else. But you never actually thought about having and owning your own business, like what you talk about in your book. But now you have to because you're not getting hired.
I don't know if anybody started a business later in life that didn't always think they wanted to be in business. I don't think that just comes to you. I think you get put in a position that you have no choice.
Yeah.
So now what many people will do and should do when they're starting a new business is really they should have a job somewhere, maybe in the same industry so they can learn it. Or if they've come from that industry, stay in it longer, part-time or whatever, while they build a new business. Or find another job so you have some money coming in.
Yes.
So when I was real young, even before the fur business, I went and got a real estate license. And the first thing out of the teacher's mouth was, if you don't have 6 months worth of income tucked away for your bills, leave. Because you have no chance because you're not going to make any money for 6 to 12 months.
At least. Yeah.
And that's the same thing in any business. Now, I've never seen a business plan that didn't make money in the first year. And I don't know any businesses that ever made money in the first year. But every single business plan shows that. A business plan doesn't get you money, but a business plan will prevent you from getting any money. Because a business plan is a story of how much you know about the business and about business itself. And most people don't know enough because they don't have the experience.
They don't know enough about business or about their business?
About business.
Oh.
And will show up in the business plan when you show, A, you made money, B, you borrowed money from a bank, and the person says, what security do you have? Well, I don't have security. I have this. I'm doing this. The bank will give me money. And it's not true. So that's what you see in a business plan. Now, I look at them different than other people, but I'm looking to see how much the person knows. And you have to show that you know about business, not just about the business you're going into. So when I say you have to know about business, does your business plan show that you're paying taxes, source deductions for your, because you have to put the EI and the CPP on top of that.
Yes.
Does it show that you bought insurance for the business? What else do you need for the business? And that's got to be in there.
So the infrastructure of the business is really what you're talking about, in addition to actually what the product or service is.
Right. You have to understand business. Your product or service is second. If you don't understand business, it doesn't matter what you're selling. You're going to lose because people will steal from you.
Yes.
People won't deliver to you. People won't pay you. So you have to understand business. It's saying that sometimes you make more money saying no to an order or a job than you do taking it on.
Amen. Yes.
So, these are things that people need to understand. Everybody thinks everybody's going to pay you, and they're going to pay you. Your terms are 30 days. Well, in the factoring business, just because you sold your product to Home Depot and 30-day terms, we never took that into consideration. We'd call Home Depot and ask them what their terms are, because that's who's paying us, and that's who's going to pay by their terms, not by the terms you dictate to them, because they don't care. This is how they pay. When you're selling to department stores, which is, if you're in that kind of industry, everybody wants to sell to Walmart or Home Depot or whoever. You better understand before you go in to see them what the rules are. Because if you don't, you're going to get a shock. Because you're selling for $1, you're probably going to wind up with 85 cents.
Yes.
So you need to go in there and sell it for $1.15 to get your dollar. Because they're taking the discount off, and that's for marketing and returns and whatever other they put in there. But most people don't know that until it's too late. Now, I learned that because I was in the factoring business, and that told the client who was selling to a department store, we have a concern about this. He says, I don't care about that. I said, how can you not care about losing 15%? He says, I raised the price. They just want their discount. They don't really care what the price is. They just want their discount. So I took that into consideration. Then I met somebody else I think she was selling to Sears. I said, well, our concern is returns. She goes, look in the corner. I see 4 little things that she was selling. This Father's Day is a little T-bar with a brush and a razor on it. She says, there's $300,000 worth of sales. That's all that's left. And I said, well, how did you do that? I don't take returns. I will only take something back to replace. So if it's broken, I'll pick it up and I'll replace it for free, but you can't send anything back for credit. I said, well, that's pretty good. He says,
so do you build that in? Do you build that into the business plan, is what you're saying too, like some of these scenarios? Or
if somebody were to ask me, but nobody does that, but if somebody were to ask me, how did she know that? Yeah. She used to be a buyer at Sears. So she protected herself from all the problems she saw from what Sears did to people that sold to them. So you learn from experience. Everything is about experience.
So interesting.
Walking across the street, you learn from experience. You go when it's green or you're going to get run over.
Is that why you wrote the book? Is it because you were thinking these are things, common sense things that most people just don't know?
No. It's because I met somebody on a podcast networking group.
Yes.
And I told her, about book, and that's what she did. She helped you write books. So I contacted her and we had a call. And then she said after the call, I can't work with you. Now, this is her job. This is how she makes money. I said, why can't you work with me? I'm not sure you're serious about writing the book. And that was the kick that got the book written, because for 20 years, people said, you should write a book. You have all these stories.
Yes.
So I gave her 25,000 words in 2 weeks and another 28,000 words 3 weeks after that. So in 5 weeks, I wrote a book with 53,000 words that I've never written ever before, but it was easy because it was all stories and examples, my book. It's not telling you do this, do that. This is why you should think about this. This is why you do it. This is why experience come into place, how you deal with partners, how you deal with family when you're starting a business. All these things are important when you're going to start a business. Because when you start a business, there's no more 35, 40-hour a week working hours. No. You're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You're missing family events.
Yes.
So you have to be prepared for that, but your family has to be prepared for that. You need to talk to them about it. Money's going to be tight. You can't take money out of your business to pay your bills.
Yes.
So you have to be ready for that, and you have to have the support of your family, your friends, because you're going to need to lean on them. And if you don't think about that, you have no chance of success.
But you see, this to me is part of the hardship for female entrepreneurs and business owners in particular, being that so many of them are the ones looking after a family, like doing the work that no one else sees. And then on top of that, you're trying to build a business that requires the same capacity and more.
I'm going to say that women can handle more. Okay, so if you're an entrepreneur, you'll do it. If you're not, you're going to just keep complaining. I got to take care of the kids. I had to cook. I had to go to the laundry. You can't use excuses when you're an entrepreneur.
No.
You just got to get up in the morning and fix the problem. and seek help. That's the biggest thing, that women will seek help. Men generally won't do it until it's too late and the government or the bank is knocking on their door.
Why is that? What do you think that is?
Arrogance.
Fear?
Generally.
Fear?
Well, no, fear. Well, not fear. They figure they're going to get through the mistake, through the problems. If they ignore them or they try something else. But women will tackle those problems. They'll seek some help. They just won't do it when it comes to the financing part.
And so what do you recommend if let's say you've gone to the bank, you've been turned down, you don't have family that's going to support your business, but you have had this dream for 19.5 years.
Right.
And you don't have plan B.
Well, you have to prove to people that you understand the business and why it's going to work. Okay? And your friends and family will either believe you or not based on past experience.
Yes.
They're not going to all of a sudden think today at 45 years old, you're all of a sudden going to work hard and take care of all your responsibilities. That's just not going to happen. But if you've always been a person that's been on top of things, now you have a reason to go to them. Now, where do you find the other financing? Well, you have to learn about it. Now, you've heard about leases. People lease cars. So they lease equipment. So you have to understand that. So you can go to your accountant and say, and it should be a business accountant.
Yes, yes.
One thing that, in my book, I say that you really need a team. A team is your lawyer, which is a commercial lawyer, not your brother-in-law, the real estate lawyer. Right? Really important about that. An accountant and some kind of business broker, consultant that's earned a living putting financing togetere.
Right.
Okay. So your lawyer, when you pick, it's somebody that has litigation and security knowledge. Okay? So it's commercial. It's a commercial lawyer. Your accountant, you only need to ask one question. And I truly believe this. Should I incorporate? That's the question you should ask the accountant.
Why?
Because any accountant that says you don't need to incorporate right away, go find another accountant.
Exactly.
Incorporating is your first line of insurance. You now protect your assets, your personal assets. If you stay a sole proprietor and you sign for something, they can come after you personally for the rent on your location. Even if you didn't give a personal guarantee, you're on the hook because you are the company. But when you're a corporation, you can hide behind the corporation as long as you don't give a personal guarantee.
Right, right.
So, and then for the business consultant broker, you want somebody that's earned a living doing that for at least the last 5 years.
And when you say they're a broker, they are going to find deals or that you would not know how to find or where to find them.
Right. They're going to have, so certain ones will have individual, most of them will have individual experience. So they'll be in the leasing business or the factoring business or a mortgage business. Or what you really want to find is somebody that's done it all. Okay? There's very few people, but that's who you want to find done it all. And you do this at the beginning. Not a year later, not 2 years later. You do it day one when you've decided you're going to go into business. These people will protect you, and I promise you, the amount of money they will charge you to help you set up the business is a fraction of what you're going to pay me to get you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And they will keep you out of most of the trouble. Every time you have a situation, I have to speak to my lawyer first. Now, anybody that says, no, you don't have to speak to your lawyer, is trying to cheat you. If they say, sure, go speak to your lawyer, now you're dealing with a legitimate person who understands you want to get a legal opinion of whatever contract you're going to sign. A broker is going to help you with different avenues of your business. So after COVID, a lot of companies owed money but needed goods from their suppliers, and the suppliers wouldn't deliver to them because they owed money.
Yes.
Well, they can't pay the supplier if they're not in business. So I would go to the supplier and say, we have two choices. We can work together where you will keep supplying the goods to the client, but they'll pay you COD. And you're going to surcharge the invoice 5 or 10%, and they're going to pay you the back debt that they owe you over the next 6, 12, or 18 months.
Makes sense.
So that's choice number one.
That's a great solution.
Choice number two is sue them and hope they stay in business, and you get a judgment down the road 2-3 years later that you might collect on. Probably not, because they probably won't be in business, and you will have spent your money on legal fees. So let's work together, because if they don't pay COD, you don't sell. But if you do this deal, you will keep a client. You've lost lots of clients because of COVID. You'll keep a client. They'll pay you part of the back debt, and they'll pay you money up front or COD, and so you're making a profit, and you're keeping the client, and they're staying in business. So it's your choice. Do you want to work with the client? Because if not, we'll find somebody else that will. We're offering COD, so anybody will deal with us. But do you want to work with us? And most of them said yes. Some of them said no, and I said, go sue. And those companies generally went out of business, and these people had large legal bills going after and getting a judgment, which they would get. They're going to be successful against the client.
But it's way down the road.
Down the road.
Yeah.
It's down the road.
If you were to, not recommend, but if you had an entrepreneur in front of you and they said, you know what, I know I love entrepreneurship. I wake up every day and I want to make something or create something or, sell something. But I don't have an idea about what it is, like what the product or service is, because 2025, it's just it's totally turned me upside down. But I want a business.
First thing.
What would you say? Yeah.
First thing. What's your passion? Do you like to cook? Do you like to build things? Are you into woodworking? What is it? Like, go into a passion. Don't think about you're going to become a multimillionaire from it. Go into something that you love, because that will lead you forward and you might become wealthy. But don't think about becoming wealthy to begin with. Think about being happy. And if you're happy, that business will build itself. So go in. Now, if you have a passion about something but you don't know enough about it, cooking for a restaurant, pastry for a takeout, for a bakery, go work for a few of them. Learn what they do, how they deal with buying, how they deal with the excess when they have to throw it out because it's food. Find out what they do, how they deal with employees that don't show up. Just watch and ask questions. So when I first got into that factoring business, I knew that it was for me. It was like I'd never heard about it before, but I was born for it. And I'd never heard about it before. It was business, it was numbers, and it was money. So I went in there, and I knew right away. I was just a salesperson. That's all. My job was on commission to get clients. And I knew right away that this was something that I was going to do. And I was either going to buy into the business, I was going to start my own, or I was going to buy into one of the business looking for money. But I had to learn about the business. So I learned everybody's job. The girls that were sending out the invoices for collections or collecting invoices. I dealt with the bookkeeper. I dealt with the accountant. I dealt with the legal department. And the owner of the business was very forward in talking.
Do you think it's still like that? Like, I mean, do you think you can't even call a business sometimes? Like, everything's automated. Like, do you think you can just walk in and say, hey, I'd love to work for you. I'll do it for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Just go in.
Just try.
Just go in. You have nothing to. What are they going to do to you? Say no? And then what happens? You get in your car and you go to the next one. But you have to get experience. And most of these people are looking for people.
Yes.
Never do it for free.
Never for free.
Never for free. Not that I can think of. There may be a situation. Right now, I can't think of one reason why you should do it for free. Because you devalue yourself. You're going in there to learn. You're going to, and the people that go and do that are great people to hire, because they're going to work harder than the other people in there, because they have a motivation to learn so they can go into the business. So you don't have to do it for free. You just have to work harder.
What excites you now in terms of the work you're doing?
When I get somebody to say, how did you come up with 2 or 3 other solutions when everybody else I spoke to only had the same one solution? And fixing a problem. And protecting people from bullies. So people that you owe money to are bullies. And they make demands. Some of the demands are correct to make.
Yeah.
A lot of demands are threats that they can't act on. Okay? And when you're dealing with the government, when you owe money to the tax department, you have to deal with that. Don't run away. Always pick up the phone.
Yes.
Okay? Always fill out your forms. Even if you can't send them in money, file the source in the HST forms. But the government's job is to collect. The government will not tell you the rules. They will make certain demands that are really just requests. Like we had a client got a letter. I had to read it a couple of times because the letter made it sound like a demand because they were going after the client's mortgage lender. We want all the information of how you've been getting paid on the mortgage. And if you haven't been paid, we want to know you haven't been paid. The government was looking for other bank accounts the client had.
Wow. Stunning.
But they made it sound, that letter to the mortgagor, that you had to send in this information on the client. But you don't. It wasn't a demand. It was written like a demand, but it was not a demand. There was no consequences if you didn't.
So hence the reason why it's so important for you to have your specialist so at the table with you, so you could say, can you read this? Because
Right.
I'm reading it and I'm freaking out.
Right. They're all freaking out. You're dealing with the government. So that's something you just hand over to your lawyer to read and your accountant to act on, or somebody that deals with the government on a regular basis. There's very few people that deal with the government for tax remittance, for arrears, other than a trustee. But there's a few people. I do it, and there may be one or two other people that do it. It's a specialized situation that I did the first time by complete accident. They were demanding the money. The client didn't have the money. I was prepared to finance the client, but I needed the government to sign off that they wouldn't go after the receivables. And the government hemmed and hawed, but I wanted the client. So I came up with an idea. And eventually the government accepted it because the alternative was 10 people were going to be unemployed and they weren't going to get paid.
At all.
So they took a shot, and it worked out. And that's how I started helping people with tax problems.
Wow.
Because you have to deal with them, Like
You can't walk away. I can't hide from it. What have you learned from writing your book?
I have a lot of stories.
You've learned that you have a lot of
I
stories.
have a lot of stories that, and the book was easy to write because of it. And I know that it would, if somebody reads it, they'll
see themselves or see.
They'll see that it's possible to go forward, but they have to think about things they never thought about. Like the experience, the family, the team that you're going to put together, how to deal with different kinds of financing, what they mean. I have one spot in here about factoring and a bank, and I compare apples to apples.
Yeah.
And I show how a bank at 3% a year
Yes.
is far more expensive than a factoring company whose yield is 45% interest.
Wow.
So how is 45% interest cheaper than 3%?
Yes, explain that. Talk about that.
It's not how much money you pay in interest. It's how much money you make from the money you're borrowing or taking in financing. So in this particular case, both companies had $100,000 in cash.
Yes.
One had bank financing, $100,000 line of credit with a 65% advance, which means you need $100,000 worth of invoices to borrow $65,000. The other company, they both sold the same product. They both sold it for $100,000, and they both made $30,000. So everything was equal. But the other company used factoring. So they both sold their first order.
Yes.
And the company with the bank was able to margin because they had 100,000 invoices, so they were able to get their $70,000 to produce the next order, and they delivered it. The company using the factoring took their $100,000, sold it, got a check for $80,000 from the factoring company, so got $10,000 of the profit and all their expenses back. And they get the other $20,000 when the invoice got paid. But in the third week, they both got orders.
Wow.
The first company using the bank said, I need $70,000. And the bank says, you only have $50,000 in room left in your cash. So they couldn't do the order. The other company just sold the second invoice. They were able to do it. So after 60 days, the first company with the bank still only sold 2 orders. They made $60,000 and they only paid $365 in interest. The other company made 9 sales, made $270,000, but paid $50,000 approximately in cost. So who was more expensive? The bank where you paid $365 and made just under $60,000, or the company that allowed you to make $225,000 but cost you $45,000?
Wow.
So it's not about it. You've got to learn that it's about making money.
Yes.
And how are you going to make money?
And you have to be certain. I mean, that you're going to make the money. You know, that there isn't any other choice. But I think people look at the 45% and they go, I don't want to. That's too much. But they haven't factored in all these other pieces.
They haven't factored all in. But the other thing about the factoring, it's 3% a month. Now, today, it's 2.25% a
Yes.
month. But when I wrote it, I did it at the maximum I could do.
Yes, yes.
So here's the other situation with it. That 2.25%, 3% a month, they're a partner. They're a sales commission in an order. You don't do the order, you don't owe the money. You didn't borrow the money. You sold your invoice for less money. Every time you use a credit card and you walk into a store, that store says, we're prepared to take less money to get paid sooner. You give them the credit card, you paid the $100, you got charged $100, but they only got $98. But if they didn't take the credit card, they wouldn't have sold the $100,000 worth of merchandise unless you had $100 in cash.
That's right.
So when you're factoring, you're saying, okay, I'm prepared to take money sooner for less. I'm going to take less money to get paid sooner so I can do the next order. If I don't do the next order, I don't sell the first invoice.
Wow. I love the way you explain it. This is why you are who you are.
But and people have seen it and don't understand they're already factoring in their own business when they put down 2% 10 days on their invoice. They're saying to the people paying, if you pay me in 10 days, I'll take 2% less. That's factoring. They're just factoring themselves. Now, they're better using a factoring company because the factoring company is going to charge them 2% to give them right away instead of 2% in 10 days if they get paid in 10 days. Sometimes they don't get paid because it's up to the company who's paying to decide to take the discount or not. Some will pay you later and still take the discount.
So listen, we're 5 months away from the end of the year, 4.5 months. Going in, I know, is crazy. I'm talking about 2026. What are 3 things that you recommend that we do if we are entrepreneurs, we're ready to take off and build our business, that we need for 2026?
You need to know really who you want to sell to and go after them. Some people just sell because they need cash flow.
Yes.
So like I tell people there's 2 kinds of trucking companies out there. The one that take loads for cash flow because they just need money coming in. And the other ones that take loads only if they're going to make money. It's the same thing with your business. You have to do a business where you make money. And if that means you do $1 million worth of business instead of $1.5 million, but you make money, you're better off. You'll work less and you'll make more money. You can't sell to the wrong people. You can't sell for too low of a price. So you have confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
Go after the people you think can help grow your business. Understand what they do before you go see them. And then you make your plan to go see them with your pricing and your product or your service. And you sell them. And why should they take you on instead of somebody else? It's not necessarily going to be price. It's going to be service.
Yes.
It's going to be accessibility to you. You know, I learned a long time ago, and today this person had 3 reasons why you have no excuse not to. There's only 3 reasons why you don't call somebody back within 24 hours. You're out of the country, which no longer exists because you have your cell phone with you and you can email, you can text. The second one is you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
And the third one is you're dead. Now, I looked at this person who's my parents' next door neighbor, and I looked at him. I was 21 or so. And I thought, if this person lives that way, there's nobody out there that shouldn't do that because he's way more successful and way busier than anybody I can meet. And that's how he lived. And I call back everybody. If I haven't called you back that day or in minutes, I actually forgot because there's no way I didn't contact you back. Because the reason he would do it in 24 hours or less, somebody would contact you back.
Yes, yes.
Either he did or somebody else. He says you spend less time calling them back and saying no than you do thinking about what you should do or the next message and the next message and the next message. You have to keep thinking, should I call him? I shouldn't call. Today you can text them back at 3 a.m. and say, I'm not interested.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, don't call again. You can do all kinds of things. There's no excuse. And I have told people, don't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
When they haven't called back. And there's no reason for it.
Do you think this is a good time to build a business and grow your business?
Down times are always a great time. Right? Because there's more opportunity. People are looking for more. And because somebody they used to do business with is out of business. Maybe you come up with a different plan. You've seen things fail. You don't have the debt that other companies are involved in.
Yes.
So people that come out really successful, there's been huge people that came out very successful out of COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, DoorDash or whoever, or,
Yes,
Uber
yeah.
Eats. Why? Because people weren't leaving, so they had to have an avenue to get the food. They weren't going to pick it up. So they won. The restaurants didn't necessarily win, but those places won. Different servicing. So look for where there's a void. When you're looking for something, that's somewhere you should look to fill that void. Just believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't think you're going to succeed, you will never succeed. And it's hard enough to succeed when you do believe in yourself.
Yes.
There's a lot of things coming at you. Ask for help. People love to help. People like to give information. People love to talk. Acknowledge those people that help you. Mm-hmm. It can be with little things. Like I was going to do something with my father in the daycare center business. I had a great idea, and we had to learn a lot about it, lots of rules. And my father contacted people at the government to get the rules, and they answered the questions reluctantly. But the next day, the two women that he had been dealing with each received the largest bouquet of flowers they have ever seen in their life. And every time I called or he called, they picked up that phone because somebody recognized them.
Yes, that's right.
Okay? Just say thank you. Appreciate who's helping you, and they will help you more. Most people like to help. Most people like to give you their knowledge about something.
Yeah.
They want to be recognized that they actually know something. Take advantage of it and be polite about it. Thank them. That's all they want. But always stand up for yourself.
Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate your generosity of time and the generous way in which you share your experience and your friendship.
Thank you.
And I think that you're helping a lot of people. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Michael, it was amazing. Thank you for being on Let's Talk.
Thank you very much.
My friends, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk, produced by Wisemindly Inc. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take action, reflect, or embrace on a new way of thinking, on a new path. And if you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you did, don't forget to subscribe, share, and even leave a review. Reviews matter. They allow us to do way more than we're doing now. Let's continue the journey of growth and well-being together. Until next time, I'm Coach Shay Marvell. Stay connected, stay curious, and let's keep talking.